Salubonani sesibuyele njalo. Podcast yabantu, i-podcast yomhlaba. Ebukela ngedata, ebukela ngerain, ebukela nge-Starlink. Nxa le Starlink ngale ngikhaya ngithi kwela kithi asho ukuthi ungazibukelela even usemakhaya le uphezulu kwamadwala uselusa inkomo noma usenzani. Esikucelayo kini ukuthi liqhubeke lisupporta. Siphinde sibonge futhi labo ukudala besupporta. Subscription sayibona yakhuphuka, ama likes, ama shares, ama comments, qhubekani lisichothoze lisole lapha lisola khona. Lokho ukuthi constructive criticism. Namhlanje siliphathele la ngathi indlovukazi or ngithi udadewethu abanye bamazi but abamazi kakhulu maybe ngabantu akade babe beseduze, especially sikhuluma ngeMthwakazi Queens. Dadewethu kunjani?
Ngiyaphila bhuti wami unjani?
Ngicela uzethule babekwazi ababukeli.
Njani babukeli? Mina igama lami ngisazini Malaba, best known as Queen Saz.
Okay.
I'm the founder of Mthwakazi Queens.
The founder of Mthwakazi Queens.
Yes.
I'm already interested here. Mthwakazi Queens akusiyo le that was once embroiled in scandals and was written on Zimbabwe. Is it the same?
Should I say unfortunately or fortunately?
Okay.
It is the same Mthwakazi Queens.
Mm-hmm.
We were once spoken about
on
Zimbabwe. Shall I say particularly myself as Sazin Malaba, and the headlines were UK nurses in Malaba scams women of $150,000 US.
$150K US.
Yes, that was the headline of the
Ibambe khona apho. Ekhaya ngaphi?
Ekhaya mina ngizalwe Khezi ngokudabuka. But ngakhulela eVic Falls, Wanje area. So I grew up and educated there. And then I went to a boarding school called St. James Girls High. And from there I went to Bulawayo Polytech.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you do at Bulawayo Polytech?
I studied what used to be called secretarial studies.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It was popular back then.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
So after my studies, I graduated and I held different positions from a company called Leather Institute, from G&D Shoes, that clubs.
Oh.
And then I left Zimbabwe in 2001 when I was actually quality assurance secretary at that clubs.
Headed where?
To the UK.
What did you go and do in the UK? What were you going to do in the UK?
It's very funny because I actually never had interest of going to the UK.
Yeah.
My dad lived in the UK quite a few years ago with my stepmom and my younger sister. And he then was kind of like, hamba mntanami khona lesilungwini la uyechadwa likhiwa, you know. And I was like, Dad, to be honest, I remember the story very briefly. My young sister was already there with our mom, and she was working, so she bought me the ticket and sent it with some, because by then, it was quite still unique to be going to the UK. I mean, 2001. Yeah. So I remember this man, came with the ticket and £700 cash, and he handed me this envelope. And I remember going to my auntie saying, "Auntie, mina ngifuni kuye UK, mina yazothatha imali le ngiyegoli."
So no funke goli. Oh, okay. All right.
And then my auntie was like, "Akwenziwa njalo mntanami, isipho somunye umntwana awusenzi njalo.
Yes.
Do as she has wished for you and go to to the UK." So that's how I ended up in the UK.
Okay. So in the UK, when initially you wanted to go egoli, now you arrive in the UK. How is it like for you compared to Africa? The weather is beautiful. You get there.
It was a huge culture shock. Everything is so different.
Yeah.
It was just But the advantage for me is I had family because I had my young sister and my uncles and unkosikazi kababa omncane. So it was a bit easier that way. But then I just could not, because I had to go to college as well as work. So I used to go to college 3 days a week, and then in that same college, I used to work Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, so I was a student and then an employee at the same time.
So is this the college where you study nursing?
No, this is the college where I was studying IT.
Wow, you're busy. Okay.
This is the college where I was studying IT. I never wanted to be a nurse. It was never my dream at all.
Yeah.
Because my auntie is a nurse, and I used to see her bambana les londa and all that, and I was I'm not doing that. No. But fast forward, I get to the UK, I settled down, and then I became homesick. Really, really homesick, because Limpopo yayingakatholakali. You would struggle to get and to be honest, not that I'm bragging or anything, but I used to get jobs in big companies. So I would be the only black person in the department.
Yeah.
So there was no way at all where during the day I was speaking in Ndebele. Unless and until I finish work or at the weekend.
Then you get home.
Then I get home and chat to my friends, to my family. That was the only time when and express myself,
Why IT?
I think by then, I just needed something, because I had finished my secretarial, remember? So I was already in computers and what have you. And, I got
so your interest was very easy to lean over to that.
Yes. My interest was just easily accessible. And it was the first thing that I was offered anyway. And I had to settle down very quickly, because there was no time, to dilly-dally and start thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I just took that opportunity. So when I started to do, when I thought about doing nursing, it's when I was working for Wolverhampton City Council. So I was the regeneration and transportation secretary.
Okay.
So being the only one again, the only black person in the department. So I said to my manager, do you know what? I can't do this. I need to find my people.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she was like, but you're so good at what you do. What's changed? I said, no, I'm lonely. And she said, so what are you going to do? And I said, I'm thinking of going to do nursing, because I understand there's a lot of Zimbabweans there.
Oh, so nursing was so that you can reconnect with your roots, with your people. Abomkaya. Did it work?
So I then took the braveness, applied, to different universities for my nursing, and fortunately I got a place at Wolverhampton University. And in 2004, I started my nurse training, and then I qualified in 2007. Only because I took a break when I had my second child.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I qualified. I was supposed to qualify April 2007, but I qualified in September 2007. So I've been a nurse now for donkey years.
So you've been in Wolverhampton since you arrived in the UK?
No. When I arrived in the UK, I used to live in London.
Okay.
So London being the capital city. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I moved. When I started, sort of like when I got my residence, that's when I moved. Because London is very expensive.
I've heard.
It's very, very expensive.
So I've heard.
It's very fast-paced.
Yeah.
I would probably maybe if I say
London, New York, Johannesburg, Lagos.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
So I was finding everything very expensive and difficult to cope with. So I decided to move. So Wolverhampton being in the West Midlands, it's kind of like slow down. You get quite a lot of black people. And life is a bit calmer there.
I would actually want us to go into that towards the end of our segment before we go into other things, where you need to break down what is the UK, what is Great Britain. Someone who's watching might think, we know this thing. Not everyone knows. People think UK is in America. I'm not lying when I say this. I'm an English teacher, and I've come across people who think they're going to Canada when they're going to the UK. And the difference between England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and all that, you are going to break down that for us because you are a citizen now.
I am.
How did it feel when you finally got accepted and you became a citizen?
It was. I think I was in two parts. Part of me was very excited because it meant obviously opportunities were opening.
Yeah.
And I could sort of settle and become someone
And not be like tala ukuthi ngiyabuyela nini.
Do you know the unfortunate part that people are not really well versed with? There's no talazing there because if you don't have the citizenship or the status as they call it, it's all in the computer.
For you to attain it.
No, for the Home Office. So they don't really. So the police won't go around looking the streets and asking people for ID, saying, have you got permission to live here? No, it's
so they know people who have their things that have expired. They know where to find them.
They probably wouldn't know if you've sort of gotten lost in the system. But then what I'm trying to say is it's not like in Johannesburg where you get Amapolisa running after you, saying, Ipasa, and things like that.
Okay.
So if say, for example, you get lost in the system, you get lost in the system until maybe a letter comes through.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you go to the immigration office.
And they pick it up.
And then they pick it up, So, yeah, that's where the difference is.
Yeah. How is life in the UK? Difficult one, right?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
This is my personal perspective. Of course, not everyone is going to agree with that.
Yeah.
But this is my personal perspective. Life in the UK is hard. It's challenging. Okay, talking from a point of view of a single mom. I'm a single mom of 3.
Yeah.
And I work full time. I'm also a philanthropist.
Yeah.
I'm also a businesswoman. So it's hard because you haven't got close family by.
Yeah.
You haven't got that house help, abo maid. You'll never get that in the UK. So you're waking up in the morning, you're going to work, you're coming back, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're washing, you're doing the kids' homework, you're doing literally everything.
So your day is like 24 hours in.
Yeah. So literally you've got more than 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You've got your professional job and then you've got your house job. So it's very hard because as a nurse as well, we tend to work long hours.
Yeah.
So it can be 12-hour shifts, 14-hour shifts. It depends on, sort of like your field and line of work. And coming back home, to starting to cook. This is why sometimes we revert to ready-made meals because it's convenient. You are tired.
You think
just
of
want
time
something
to.
Yeah. You need to help the kids with the homework. You need to sit down with the kids. And I think, sometimes this is where we get lost as Africans because we need to be able to sit down with our kids and have that conversation. Remember, they are going to a cross-cultural school.
Yeah. And you still want to teach them who they really are.
Yes. And you still want to know how their day's been at school. What's happened?
Do you ever get a chance to do that?
I do. I make time. I make sure I make time. To do that.
Yeah.
So when I get home, we prepare something to eat, and after eating, we have what we call family time.
Yeah.
And then we sit down, and I just go around, the table and say, "How was your day? What happened in school today? Anything good, anything bad? How would you change that?" I know it sounds like I'm a bit extreme, but that's what I do. Because obviously my kids don't have anybody else except me.
And they don't have more time with you, so you'll have to then force it out of them by asking
exactly
what has been happening in the day and what happened to you. How do you want to change that?
Yes. And remember, we are in a generation where our kids are digitalized.
They have access to information and knowledge more than we did.
They will learn a lot from the computer than you want to spend time with them and teach them. So we have to be very careful.
Yeah. And beside you being a single mom and you raising 3 children on your own, we hear a lot of issues of mental health in the UK, especially in the healthcare space. What can you say about that?
I'm a mental health nurse.
Okay.
So
thank
I will
you.
speak passionately about that.
Okay.
I think where the difficulty comes is, culturally, mental health is something that's deemed as a bit taboo.
Yeah.
There's no awareness. There's
Into
no.
zamakhiwa.
Yes, into zamakhiwa. Depressed. What's
Qina.
that? Qina, umfazi kumele ube lesibindi, and then we take that and wear it. Whereas actually, the environment that we're living in, UK, it's cold. It's very cold. It can be very, very depressing, just the weather itself.
Yeah.
Like
From nowhere.
2 months with no sunshine, kusinizulu every day.
Oof.
You understand? So can you imagine? So you are living in that kind of a weather.
Yeah.
You are not seeing anybody.
That alone is depressing.
That alone is depressing. People are busy. Babhizi abantu emashifting.
Yeah.
And sesilalo kana ukuthi you cannot just rock up at my house.
Yeah.
You have to call me.
Yeah.
And ask me, says, are you available? I just wanted to come and see you. Or can I come in next weekend? Schools are closed. Can we get the kids together?
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's very easy to fall into that kind of sink because there's no close-knit
I think Johannesburg is also becoming like that in terms of a person rocking up and saying, "Nipanze flatin." You can't do that anymore because people are busy. People are working shifts that you might not understand. Some people are working night shift, or they're starting during the day into maybe midnight or something like that. So you can't really say Nipans. Unlike before, you'll have to call, text, check maybe 2-3 days before and say, on such a day, I will be coming to see you. So you can continue on that.
Yeah, so it just becomes so lonely because the only other way that people would get to socialize is if there was events. So say maybe, I don't know, say for instance, if Oskido was coming or, Winky D
like
was coming.
King Zilikazi commemoration.
Yes, so things like that. That's when we actually tend to have proper socialization and interaction and get to see each other. And it's fun. And you wish such events could happen.
Almost every weekend.
But again, because of the weather, we can't do that. Because, those events need to happen in an outdoor space. So it becomes really difficult. And we see a lot as well of, in number yet domestic violence,
we've heard about that.
It's really sad.
What do you think causes that?
I personally think it's the cultural shift. Okay, so because in our African society, a woman's place is at home. Yeah. Or in the kitchen, as they would put it.
Yeah.
Right. I've gone to the UK. I've studied. I've got degrees. I've got this. I've got that. I don't want to be in the kitchen.
You are getting paid more than me.
I'm getting paid more than you. And in nursing, that's it. A nurse will get paid more than you as a man unless you go into the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're a top engineer or something big like that.
Yeah.
But that's very rare as well. So here we are in the home setting, and I've become a band 8, which is the top of the league nurse manager.
Yeah.
And I'm earning, my money, or I'm an agency nurse.
Yeah.
And, agency nurses, they earn, pretty much monthly salary per week.
Ooh.
So, I'm earning this money. I'm coming home, and Umoyo is saying, "Ay, nkosikazi, hayazi
ngiyashota
ngikhanuka ikapiyeti akungenzela ukuthi." Like, really? I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying sometimes people don't
see it the same anymore because of that shift.
Yes. So sometimes our men's ego becomes bruised. And
then they try and nurse it by reflecting on you.
Because remember, when I leave for work at 6 o'clock in the morning to go and start a 7 a.m. shift, and I'm coming back at 9 o'clock in the evening, who is at home?
Who's gonna cook?
Yeah, it's either you, the man, are gonna be at home and cooking, or there will be nobody. As for me, as a single parent.
This makes sense.
Yeah. So if the man has been at home all day, And the man is not used to this kind of thing. He's not used to standing by the stove and cooking, and then I'm coming into their house and then he's saying, Mama nankukudla. That's taboo in our culture.
And not many of the men are nurses. They're doing jobs that are below nursing.
Yeah.
And many of you guys, women, are in the nursing sector.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember also we've paved that educational route, that pathway. So sesikwazi ukuthi how ngiyakhona ukuya esikolweni, how ngiyakhona ukuba ne-degree, how ngiyakhona, you understand?
Ngiyaba ngunesi senze UK.
Ngiyakhona ukuba ne-PhD. Like really, something that maybe we didn't see in our time when we were in Africa. So yeah, opportunities have opened, the tables have turned, men's egos are being bruised.
Are there any organizations, maybe especially created by our own people, not only Zimbabwean, but maybe African communities, in trying to curb that, in trying to deal with these cases? Because they are seen. We see them in the newspapers. We see them on social media. We hear about them. What is being done to try and maybe bridge the gap there?
You will be surprised. England, or maybe shall I say the UK, is one of the most passionate countries about BAME community, so which means Black African Minority Ethnic Community, right? And the unfortunate part, because I also do like policy reviews for the NHS.
Oh,
for an organization called NICE.
Wow.
And the National Institute of Health and Research. So when we do these research reviews, we see a lot of statistics in our Black communities. People don't want to access this. Maybe not want. I think there's still that kind of shyness.
There's no full knowledge also.
Yes, the awareness isn't really fully there. And so people tend to shy away from accessing services or support or help. But I'll tell you, there's numerous support services in place for domestic violence, depression, anxiety, you name it. And the Black community actually is, we are at an advantage, but then I think we're not using that to the maximum. Yeah.
Okay, wow. I mean, I think someone who's watching some people do know, others focusing on their work, as you said, how busy their life can be, especially the work life. Because I know I've spoken to a number of people that you'll hear them crying or complaining about the stuff that they go through, and I feel like they don't have either the knowledge or access to the services that you've mentioned. I think after watching this, maybe they will be able then to know where to go and who to contact. You mentioned that you are part of the research, you do research policy reviews. How did you get into that? And for the NHS?
Yeah.
How do we get there?
While I've been doing my philanthropy work, obviously I've met different people. And with my experience of mental health, there is a charity that I was working alongside with called PIPERS, so Prevention of Suicide in Young People. PIPERS stands for something else, but I can't remember exactly what, but basically the charity looks at preventing suicide in young people and also supporting families that have been affected by suicide. Okay. So while I was doing some side work with them, their chairman then invited me and said, well, I think, we would value your experience into this. So I'm called a public inspection reviewer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so basically what we do is when there's a research out there, say, for example, for a specific treatment or for a specific intervention, because it needs to be tested first, remember. Yeah, so they will do the trials, and then the researcher will then write up this research document to say, we found a need here. The need is this, and this is how we think we can solve this need by doing ABCD, we're going to be involving, pilot people from certain background or from, that are diagnosed with certain illnesses.
Yeah.
And then they write up this research document, which can range anything from 10 to 100 pages. So basically, they then allocate you according to your experience and expertise. So I would get probably something, like my recent one was women in prison, and whether, women that are actually drug abusers can benefit to a gender-based placement, like when they leave jail, can they be placed as women on their own in the community? Because a lot of the hostels for rehabilitation are mixed. You find men and women.
Yeah.
So is it beneficial for the women? Maybe not. Maybe they need to be on their own. So that was my recent review that I did. Yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it goes on.
You are also a board member of in Wolverhampton.
I am also a board member of Wolverhampton Homes.
Okay.
Yes. So Wolverhampton Homes is part of Wolverhampton City Council, and they provide social housing.
Okay.
So in the UK, well, I don't know about other countries, okay, but we have what we call social housing. So if somebody maybe haven't got they don't own their property or their house, then they can apply for social housing. So the council is actually obligated to house that person.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and this housing is allocated according to your needs. So do you need a 1-bedroom? Do you need a 2-bed? Do you have kids? How old are your kids? Because you cannot let kids of a certain age share a bedroom if they are of the opposite sex. So I'm a board member of the Wolverhampton Homes, and my remit is more so in compliance and auditing, and also in customer service, which is where I oversee, people that are using social housing but also have mental health issues.
So you coming with now your experience in mental health into this space.
Into this space, yeah. Because sometimes you'll find, there's the challenge of antisocial behavior. So whereby, maybe somebody is, exhibiting, noisy behavior, or, they're not getting along with their neighbors, and, the community is not understanding what's going on with this person. And it may be that they're actually suffering, mental health issues. So obviously if we know, because then they have to declare, if they're diagnosed, they have to declare, so that we offer them the correct housing in the correct area. So if we know, then I come in and try and make sure that there is sufficient support for them, and they don't get discriminated, so to speak.
It sounds like to me there are things that are done in the UK or other countries that Tina back home would look at like antuzokhuluma labo malume uzoyenza, or things that we feel like like, why are you doing this? You should be doing this, without anybody teaching you. So it sounds like there are structures that are put in place to look into things that might come up, or things that are known that they are there, to sort of like help guide and administrate and manage this whole process called life and family.
Absolutely. And most of that is just a phone call away. You just got to know, where to go, or where to get the help. But it's just literally a phone call away. And anyone walking down your street, if you ask them, they will tell you. So say, for example, if I came out of my house and I said to my neighbor, I'm struggling with maybe difficulty in sleeping, my neighbor would just straight away come up and say, have you tried Mind? Have you tried this? Have you tried the
organizations that will help with that?
Yeah, organizations and, resources and platforms and, groups that maybe you can attend.
Support groups.
Yes, support groups. There's a lot going on, but I think as a Black community, we just need to be a bit more out there and reach out.
Are these services for free? Because someone might feel like, if I call, maybe now they're going to charge me. Do people really know what is expected of them? Are they paying? Is it for free? What is it that they need to do?
Pretty much, I would say 90% of things in the UK are free. Let me not be quoted.
Yeah.
But
From your understanding
from
and
my
what you have
understanding,
been exposed to.
healthcare to some extent is free, but obviously you have to pay for your prescription. You have to buy your own. So if say ngiyavuka ngigula namhlanje ngishaya ikhanda or ngibulawa isisu, and I go to my GP, okay, it's for free. I'll go and speak to my GP and say, this is some sibuhlungu, you know, siyaquma siyanjani, and then the GP will say, oh, okay, maybe inyongo, and here's the prescription. I then take that prescription. So depending on I will use the word status, you know, loosely, depending on my status. So whether I'm working, I'm not working, or how much I'm earning, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
I have then to pay for my prescription to get my medication. But if I'm not working and I'm on certain benefits like universal credit, job seekers allowance, things like that, there's lots of benefits that you know people go on for various reasons. So that prescription, I can actually go to the pharmacy and get my medication for free. So pregnant women will never pay for their healthcare until they give birth.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think it's up to a year after that, after giving birth. I think it's a year after, you know. And yeah, so in mental health patients, if say you've been admitted in the hospital for a specific mental health difficulty, then you wouldn't necessarily pay for your prescription. So there's certain things that you know you can get for free. But let's say, for example, if you wanted therapy, maybe you had an addiction problem, or you wanted counseling. Yes, there is some that they will offer you for free, but the waiting list now, because remember the whole country, the whole city is probably waiting on that. But if you can afford, then you can go private and pay for yourself, which is quicker. But obviously, you know, some people may not afford that.
Talking about waiting, how long does it take me as a Zimbabwean? Came all the way from Bulawayo and Heathrow, I land. How long does it take me to qualify for these benefits, and what does it take for one to be accepted and allowed in the system?
It depends. It varies. I think it also depends on the type of visa that you're on, because the encouragement is if you're a foreigner, you need to come in with your health insurance. So for emergency care, you can use your health insurance to some extent. But say, for example, also for treatment, tests, or you know, investigations like a scan, X-ray, and things like that, you may then need to pay. Okay, so it depends on what your status is again in terms of the type of visa that you're on. You know, are you eligible to? They say, have you got recourse to public funds? That's the phrase they use.
Recourse. You heard that. Have you got recourse?
So, which means, you know, you are actually allowed, you know, these benefits that, you know, for the citizens.
Oh.
To be honest, you know, it's kuyaphileka. I'm not going to lie, in terms of accessibility, you know, resources, jobs, you know, opportunities, but you just have to know which buttons to press and which doors are going to open.
What's happening with these people that, I don't know how they get to the UK, how does that affect them when they get there? Because we've heard of stories where umuntu uthengile, uthefika ngale, akasela ama-hours akala msebenzi. What? Because I want us to speak to someone who is thinking of doing that. Speak to us about the dangers and the challenges that they might face if they do that.
Okay. So from my own understanding and my own knowledge, COS is free.
Yep.
Absolutely free.
Free. Mahara.
Okay, mahara. So you don't have to pay anything beyond your visa application, your police check, your maybe
TB
your medicals,
test,
yes, TB test, your ticket, and then just, you know, sort yourself out and go. So if somebody is coming to you and they're saying, oh, ungafake $5,000 US, run for your dear life.
Thank you.
Run for your dear life. So the government has made it easy, you know, they've made it accessible. It's just that as human beings, I think sometimes I'm going to use the word greedy. and very
we like to
insensitive.
cut corners and do
Yeah.
things our own way.
Yeah, and do things our own way. I mean, if you are able to raise $5,000 in Africa, then where are you going?
Don't go. Stay. Yes.
Where are you going? What's the
yes.
point of selling your house, selling your car, and going to a land where you have no idea
People have
about?
sold stands, cars, as you've mentioned, houses, and some have took loans and borrowed large sums of money so they can buy this COS.
And you know what? That's another cause of depression. Because you get there, you find that life is not what you thought it is.
Oh, so then we hear now of domestic violence and all these domestic cases where it's because the person thinks of how did they leave Africa, the amount of money they used, the trouble they went through, and they get that side, they find it's not going to work.
Yeah. Can I just share this with the listeners? There's a website, www.gov.uk.
Yep.
Right?
Thank you so much.
This website will tell you everything. I mean everything from A to Z about what you need to know about the UK.
Thank you for saying that, because when I say to people, if you come to me and you want to be cautious about the UK journey, I'm going to charge you money. The reason why I'm doing that is because there's a website. I've made videos. I've shared links. I've researched and say, if you go to YouTube or Facebook, you'll find videos or some written posts where I've shared, this is what you need to do. Go there, do this, do this. But if you then come to me, I'll charge you for doing that, what you can do.
What you can do yourself.
So I've been very clear with that, because I always say to people, no one will send you a link for a job. Go to the government website, go in there, type search whatever that you want. It is there.
To the extent that you actually get. If I needed a COS today,
companies are in there.
I can actually go in there and verify these companies.
Because they update them every day.
Every single day.
It's called the licensed sponsors or registered employers. It's there. There's a list. I think in a day you can find like 2,500 companies.
Yep. Yeah. So I think the problem with our people is we don't want to. I don't know if it's laziness or arrogance.
Or we are used to
ignorance.
that. We have been programmed that for our life to become better, we need to go and get someone handing over the keys to the next room.
I'll give you an example. In the last few weeks, I've been sharing links on cruise ship jobs on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like literally saying, this link here is for a bartender, this link here is for a chef, this link here is for a photographer. Guess what? I'll still get people coming to me saying, manje kumele ngenze njani ukuthi ngi-apply? And I'm like,
hey.
Okay, fine. If you want to understand the process, fine. But like, connection.
Connection.
I don't have a connection. I've got access to information that you may not have.
I get that call every day.
You know?
So manje lapha umna wami unikeza inamba yakho, so le connection.
Uchaja malini.
I-connection engilayo, it's gov.uk.
Thank you.
That's the connection that I can give you.
Thank you.
Wow. So someone sitting at home is thinking, there are people that I know as an IELTS coach that came to me, Bafundi IELTS, and they were so excited, Bafundi UK, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they are still here, and some of them are depressed. I believe there's something you can say to them, because sometimes we are not able to reach to all of them. I've always said to people now when they come to my classes that not everybody's going to go to the UK. UK is not for everybody also. And if you have written the English test, you've done your TB test, you've done all these other things, you've paid the money, and still the UK doesn't happen.
There's more to life. What I can say is, I think sometimes the mistake that people make, because, you know, things like your TB test and your police clearance, they expire, don't they?
6 months.
Yeah. So what I would advise is for people to hold on doing those things, because you need the job offer.
So wait and do them at that time when you now start getting offers and then you do them because you know that process.
Remember, the offer is going to come in today. They're not going to say, come to UK tomorrow.
That's it.
It's still a long process. You're going to still wait for the visa
That's
application.
it. Yeah.
You know? So I always advise people, apply. Once you start getting offers and you've gone for interview, as soon as you go for your first interview, whether you've been responded to or not, then you can start.
But the fact that you're now getting those responses.
Yes, the fact that you're now, because there's no point going to pay for a police clearance, going to do your TB test, and then 6 months down the line you're still sitting in Johannesburg. You know, so kumele uphenduke ubuyele uyayenza futhi. That's money again that you need to, you know, to fork out. So I would say to people, wait until you are invited to an interview. You know, lawe uzathola that motivation.
You start knowing what is being asked.
Exactly.
And then the next interview you do better, probably you get the job.
Exactly. Because as soon as you go for your interview, it takes maybe, I would say, a maximum of 2 weeks and for them to get back to you to say if they're slow. Because obviously, remember, you're not the only one that's applied. Maybe there's 50 of you.
Yeah.
So maybe let's say it takes 2 weeks for them to get back to you, right? So as soon as they get back to you and say you have been successful.
Yeah.
The TB test takes how many hours?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, 30 minutes you with your certificate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the police check.
Yeah, it depends. If you go there and you mention that it's an emergency, it will take 3 days. If you're not really in a rush, it will take 14 to 18 days.
So we're not talking about 3 months. We're not talking about 6 months. We're talking about something that you can actually say, okay, by the time I get this offer, and I start preparing, because remember, there's also the social preparation, the family. Maybe you've got kids. You're not just going to up and go.
Yeah.
Make sure whether you are taking that. You know, it's a long process.
Absolutely.
So let's not jump the gun.
And just that shift, you need to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally. You can't just up and get into a plane and you're in the UK and everything is okay.
Yeah.
You know, one needs to prepare themselves.
But also, Joy, we need to mention this. COS is not the only job in the UK. It's not the only sponsored job in the UK.
There are
it's
many
not the only
other.
visa to the UK.
Yep.
There's loads, millions.
There's fruit picking, it's seasonal. If you go into the website, they even sometimes specify, they ask you, what do you want? Is it healthcare? Is it in engineering? Is it in hospitality, transport? It has all those things there. Charity visas.
Exactly, religious visas.
Yeah.
So remember also, because this healthcare is getting influxed now.
A lot.
So whenever it started, whether it's
I think it's
2020
even,
or whenever, right?
It's a bit better now. 2 years ago.
So everyone wants this. Like literally, it's gonna get influx. Like to be honest, I've got colleagues of mine that are struggling to find work. They've got a nursing qualification. They've been in the UK for years. They're struggling to get work because of this COS, right? Because to employers, it's cheap labor.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, and it's someone new that is gonna be saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. How many bags, ma'am? You understand? For someone like me who's been there and got the T-shirt, I'm not going to take any nonsense. If they're going to say, okay, you're going to be working 12-hour shifts and we're going to be paying you £20 an hour, I'll be like, nah, So real nurses that have been there in the game are actually struggling to find jobs. Because of COS, people. I'm not saying this in a negative way at all.
It's reality.
It's reality.
Yeah.
I've got colleagues of mine that are really, really struggling. So but people need to know that eventually this is going to close because like there's loads.
Currently, is the UK still hiring from overseas?
As far as I know, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was issue of whether a sponsored individual can bring their family along. I think that's
the
still under
dependents.
review. Yes,
it was in Parliament at some point. They discussed it, but it wasn't really passed as a bill. And I saw people now saying, "No, you can't bring dependents." But I've been helping people, and I see people taking their dependents with, because I've always said, if it's not in the website yet, in the government website, it's not yet passed. So we shouldn't then tell people that you can't do it anymore before we see
We
it
actually
written
see it
somewhere.
there.
That's
I
been
think
passed.
what actually helped in that sense was the election, because obviously, as you know, the Conservatives lost. I don't want to delve too much into that because I'm not a politician.
Okay.
But obviously, Labour is now in power, so obviously they've got their own policies, they've got their own vision, and they've got their own sort of like ways of working in the future of how they want to tackle this. So things may change for the better or for the worse. So I think they're at a point where they are still discussing to come up with a final solution. Yeah.
How is the school life for kids in the UK?
Good and bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Care to share?
Good in the sense that there's everything that they've got equipment. They've got
the resources are there. They are available.
They're available. But for me personally, I would give anything for my children to be educated in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I think the education system in Africa is much better. Although it may be strict in terms of, it's very sort of like,
this way or no way.
This way or no way at all.
Yeah.
So, and what I like most about Africa is a child needs to come to school looking presentable.
Yeah.
Whether we are Swela or Ausweli, and there's a uniform that you have to wear to go to school.
Yeah.
The UK, they will talk about poverty, to say, umuntu uyaswela. Of course, yes, umuntu uyaswela. But we are told a uniform, you're not wearing that. If you are wearing that kind of a school shoe, if that is your uniform, in Africa, that has to be your uniform. We are swela or swale.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, they're quite flexible.
You can wear anything.
You can wear anything.
Oh.
Not anything as such, but like anything within the uniform guidelines.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be strictly.
There are no specifics.
There are no specifics. Yeah, but
so it can actually then. Do you think it helps the kids, or it makes them detached from society?
I think it makes them detached. For me personally, my own experience is UK schools. They need to be a little bit stricter in terms of,
the rules, the policies,
the rules, how the kids dress, how they present themselves. In the UK, umntwana angabuya echaye 0 out of 10. I remember in primary school, because ngakhulele wanke, and I used to go to a rural school, right?
Yeah.
So when we moved to Bulawayo, I didn't know English at all. And I remember I moved to Ekhumalo North, which was, in a school, So, and I remember doing mental maths, excellent, teacher 5 times 5, So then when you finish, the teacher will say, all of you stand up, and City, those who got 10 out of 10, sit down. Those who got 9 out of 10, sit.
Zero.
The teacher was said, Sazini, can you see you are the only one standing? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, you need to pull up your socks.
Yeah.
I pushed my chair backwards.
You pulled your socks?
I pulled my socks.
Literally.
But now the confusing thing was, my ankle socks. So how am I?
So you can't pull
socks?
them further up.
And the whole class burst out laughing.
Because they know English, they understand English. You don't.
They understand English.
Did that make you better, a better
person?
It
made me better. It made me better because one thing has to look so I went home and I told my dad, and my dad was like, okay, so what do you need to do? Remember, my dad was in the Air Force, so he was very rigid. He was like, what do you have to do?
Pull up your socks.
Pull up your socks.
As they say it.
So, but whereas in the UK, they'll be like, it's all right, darling, you've done your best, you've done what you can. So they don't tend to push umntwana to, to their highest potential.
They want to hide their feelings.
Exactly. So I think kuyambulala umntwana in a way, because they're not really doing their maximum potential. They're just doing the bare minimum. to be able to get through to the next stage.
I'm in Africa. I hear about the COS, UK, England. What is that? I don't understand. What is the UK? What is Great Britain? Is England? Where is London? Is London in Scotland or in England? Where's Edinburgh? Where is Northern Ireland? Is Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, part of the UK? Is it separate? Because we've had a lot of this and people are so confused. You hear someone saying, oh, Oban say UK, and I'm looking at someone who's in America, and I'm like, oh, and for me, it has been one thing that I try to, I've shared some of the things on Facebook, but not everyone really follows. I want you, a person who's coming from there, because I might have maybe butchered some of this information, because I'm not there, I've never been there. What is the UK?
The UK, United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So, as it says, it's a United Kingdom. Right? So, which means there's little sections
that make up this
kingdom. Right? So you will have England
as a country on its own.
Yes. You've got Wales
as a country on its own.
You've got Scotland
as a country.
You've got Northern Ireland.
So it's 4.
So these 4 countries are in the United Kingdom. Okay. So Mina, I live in England. So Munyu can say the UK. But
I say Wales.
Yes, I can be here living in England or Munye hlale Wales. We're both from the UK. But then mina say England.
You say Wales.
Kufana lokuthi ngithini? Ngithi Gauteng. And obese ngithi omunye use Johannesburg, omunye use maybe Fendel.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar really.
Omunye say Soweto, omunye say Midrand.
You understand? So that makes up a Gauteng province. Yes, that's how it is.
So then we got King Charles. Is he the king of England or is he the king of the UK, the Great Britain?
He's the king of the UK.
So now Wales, Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland, do they have their own presidents or prime ministers?
I'm not sure about the Northern Ireland. I'm really not sure about that. But I know Scotland have got their own. Wales, they don't.
Okay.
I don't think they do.
I've never heard of any.
No.
I've never heard of them voting.
They will have political leaders in Jongoti, like they've got obviously political parties that are passionate about the Welsh. But, you know, when they do vote, obviously...
They still report to the...
Falls back to England.
Oh,
yeah, but Scotland, I know definitely because they normally have their own kind of elections.
Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen separation of elections.
And remember, all these 4 countries, they speak their own languages.
Yeah, there's Welsh, Scottish, and then you've got Irish in the Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So the Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, they're separated.
Geographically, they're not. Because
okay.
Yeah.
But then there's just
Zimbabwe, but so there's Northern Ireland and then there's Republic of Ireland. But there's not even a border. I've never really seen a border.
I've seen that people just cross over
and
train.
People just cross over. But you can tell when you've got to the other side. You can tell the way it looks and stuff.
Yeah.
And a Republic of Ireland, they've got better houses.
I've heard. I've got family there.
Yeah, it's spacious. You know, it's nice. It's spacious.
Yeah.
It's more cultural.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. I hope you are learning lapana ekhaya mkhaya UK ayikho eAmerica. Wena okwaziyo khona lokho ungacabanga ukuthi into lesi ikhuluma nje from nowhere. There are people who genuinely do not know or do not understand, and they cannot separate, especially when it comes to the West. They have not looked into the map. They've never really bothered to look into the geography. But some of us who are curious, we sometimes speak about the UK and you'd swear that we have been there.
I think also what makes the UK become sort of more popular is because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was one of those, it was one of the first destinations that, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of Zimbabwean migrated to.
Also-
before America, Australia, and Canada.
And also, they colonized us, so we are always going to have a very, very strong ties and relationships. It's a love and hate relationship where we appreciate what they brought, what is positive, but we also like, oh, they colonized us and whatnot. And I think it's very easy for us as Zimbabweans to relate with the UK, with Britain, with England, to be precise, more than other countries.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's really going to help umuntu obukeleyo laphayana. Bengaliskemi. I've said this before. There are links, correct links that you can follow for you to get the jobs, get the help that you need, and don't be lazy. Let me put it that way. Let me say this as your brother, is your young brother, is your cousin, is your uncle, is whoever. Don't be lazy. Research, read, learn. Now, let's go to, we spoke about something in the beginning. Mthwakazi Queens.
Yes.
How did it come about?
Mthwakazi Queens was born in November 2015
Yeah.
in the comfort of my own lounge at home. By then, you know, I think Facebook was new. I can't remember when Facebook came into the picture, but it was 2010, somewhere there. Yeah. So, yeah, looking at okay. So, and I'm going to say this as it is, but I don't mean any malice or anything, right?
Please, this is a free space.
On Facebook, there was, you know, groups, various groups, where people were socializing, doing all sorts.
Yeah.
But we realized there was this animosity of language barrier because we were made to speak in a certain, or to write in a certain language. And if you wrote in your own language, then you would be like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
This is not for you, kind of thing.
I remember.
Yeah. So then I sat down and thought, you know what? Why not?
Yeah.
You know, we can have something where we actually can write in our own language, express ourselves, and relate to each other from, you know, the same sort of region or whatever. Yeah. So that's how Mthwakazi Queens was born. And as we started it, well, I say we, but you know, obviously I then had a team that I was working with.
Yeah.
We then sat down and thought, okay, how can we make this beneficial rather than just a social platform? Yeah. So we've got actually various activities or projects that we do and have done under Mthwakazi Queens. So we've got regional burials. We've got like the national burial. I think we've got 2. And we've had Mastokfela, we've had various clubs, honestly, Joy. We've had the building club. People have built houses from AMA clubs that we've done. Wow. So we would start from scratch, from buying the land to putting the foundation, to window level, to putting the window frames. And we would do it stage by stage as groups of women until you finish, you know, building your house. Yeah. We've had the car club. And sorry, I forgot to mention that Mthwakazi Queens is also the mother of Matebele Queens. Okay. Okay. So Mthwakazi Queens is in the UK, is registered in the UK. All right. Matebele Queens is registered in Zimbabwe and South Africa.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. But we mirror each other. Because obviously it's the same founder, it's the same ethos, same vision. Yeah. Okay. Because what we found was there was a challenge, obviously, in facilitating all these projects with people that are based in Zimbabwe using a different currency to us based in the UK, and then you know, some people based in South Africa. So we thought, you know what, let's just separate them. So yeah, we've also done charitable work. You know. In just before COVID, we had a gentleman that had a tumor on his I'm not going to use the medical term because I'll break my tongue.
Ah.
He had a tumor on his cheek, like literally so, and it was closing in on him. He was having difficulties breathing, difficulties eating. You know, we raised funds for this gentleman, and he managed to have a very successful operation. Yeah. And now, as we speak, you know, he's living his life like
in the UK or back in
in Zimbabwe.
All right.
In Zimbabwe. Yeah. We've paid school fees for orphans.
Yeah.
You know, we've helped the less privileged in peri-urban areas, so like Kobo, St. Peter's, Mbundani, and all those kind of areas that are poorly developed.
Yeah.
And in the UK, most of what we've done in Ama clubs, you know, because with the UK, obviously, resources and access to services is there. So it's easy for people to actually access all these services, the support and everything. So, so we've kind of like grown, you know, over the years and also expanded on our projects to a point where we have two massive projects that we have recently been working on, which is the Maxim Hill project and also the Kilani Townhouses project.
How are they coming up?
Not very well, I must say. There's been huge hurdles, huge challenges, especially with the Maxim Hill.
Where's Maxim?
Maxim Hill is just after, you know, Harare Road. Ndabazinduna way, just after the toll gates, kind of on your left-hand side. So, so we've had massive challenges with that because there was a bit of glitch in terms of the paperwork, getting the permits sorted, getting the titles done. And while we were trying to do all that, COVID then hit us.
Is this when now you then get accused that you have scammed the people of $150,000 US?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. $150K US.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I wouldn't be sitting here.
Did you chow it?
I wish I could have. I wish I could have. I didn't chow no penny. Okay.
What happened?
Instead, I've actually even invested my own money into this project to make sure that, you know, it goes smoothly and, you know, things are as they should be. So what happened is there was a glitch in the subdivision permit, of which obviously this land was supposed to be divided into a 50-50. And unfortunately, there was an error on the subdivision diagram, which was
50-50 with who?
Okay, so we bought the land. It's private, family-owned land.
It's not from the government.
It's not from the government at all.
All right.
It's private land owned by a family. So the original sort of official document divides this land into two for the two beneficiaries. So without mentioning any names, of course. And so when the subdivision diagram and permit went in the first time, there was an error on the diagram, which then meant that when I say we, I mean us Mthwakazi Queens, as we were buying this land from the seller, we then had 51 hectares instead of 50.
Because it has to be half-half.
Because it has to be half-half, as stipulated in the original document for the two beneficiaries. So we're buying the 50 hectares from the one beneficiary, and the other 50 hectares was remaining with the original beneficiary. Okay. So the documents went in, and then this error gets picked up right at the end of the process. Remember, in Zimbabwe, there's no computers. Is there? I don't know. I've never.
There are, but everything still needs to be written by Sergeants Mang and Officer Who, and somewhere in the government offices, someone has to.
And remember, this file is actually physically being carried from one office to another. Hard copy, like proper massive file like this. It's physically being carried from one office to another, including all the way to Harare.
That must be frustrating.
I've never had such a testing time in my life.
Yeah.
Because it took us 3 years we started this project in 2020, and we're still here. So anyway, so when this diagram went in with the error, the error was discovered. As soon as the error is discovered, we try to rectify the error. Boom, COVID. So everything gets shut.
Now
Obviously
you
now
can travel, the services are not accessible as they would be.
there's no travel, there's no access to services. The file can't now move because of infection control. The file can't now move from one
Because it's a physical hard
because
copy.
it's a physical hard copy. You understand? So it's sitting on this person's desk for however long it takes for them, to actually get to it, look at it, do whatever they need to do, and move it on to the next
Why
person.
not scan and send?
Exactly.
Okay, continue.
So in that process,
Yeah.
understandably so, some of our women became impatient.
Yeah.
Okay. They wanted answers I didn't have. Okay. Even though I had been updating them, we actually even involved two other, because we had a small committee of, it was three of us, myself, one lady who does our who runs our office in Bulawayo, and one other lady in the UK, because obviously we're just a small group.
Yeah.
And we then said to two of these other women, okay, since you're saying you've got connections, as long as you're connection,
you're pillar. Yeah.
Since you guys are saying you've got connections, send your connections to office number so and so, and go and verify for yourself. So people went and verified.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies actually even came back and said, my consultant said this project is authentic, it's very clean. We just have to wait for the process to
take its course.
Ngali
process. Yeah, process.
But still, there was instigation after instigation, accusation after accusation, to a point where they approached Simba Chikandza. Simba Chikandza, I think I received his first telephone call on the 26th of December, 2023.
Yeah. What did he say?
He said to me, is that Sazini? And I said, yes. Who's speaking? And says, it's Simba Chikandza here. And I said, hi, Simba. And he said, hello, I am representing some of your women. I understand you've scammed those may not have been his exact words.
But
yeah. He said something to the effect of, I understand you've scammed these women of $150,000. And I was like, really? That was exactly my response. I was like, really? And he goes, yes, I've been speaking to some of these women, and some of them are actually into depression, and, they've got their families to call me. And I said, Simba, you know what? Actually, it's the 26th of December. It's holiday time. I'm just in my house
after Christmas
with my family. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That's literally what I said to him. I said, just have a heart. I'm not interested. And I ended the call.
Yeah.
And he called me back a few days after, I think it was the 2nd or the 5th of January, somewhere there. And he said, it's Simba Chikandza again, and I need to talk to you about, this Maxim Hill issue. And I said, okay. And I thought, you know what, actually, this time I'll listen and hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm calling on behalf of these women, and, they want their refund. They want their money back because you've basically scammed them of this money. You've sold them land that doesn't exist, that's got no title deeds. He accused me of all sorts. And I said to him, Simba, actually, hold on. May I ask, have you got a warrant? Have you got a warrant to speak to me? Like, who are you representing? He couldn't answer me. And I said, if the women want their refund, they know how to go about it. There's an agreement that was sent to each and every single woman on the project, and they signed it.
Yeah.
So they need to go back to their agreement and follow the procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, well, you haven't been answering their calls. I said, I'm not going to answer individual phone calls. I've got a life. I've been updating them in the group. Some of the women, they actually sent their next of kin, their representative and everything. They know the office of where our documents are being processed.
Are they all in the group, these women?
Yes. So, and they're free to go,
Yeah.
you know. And we had actually spoken to one of the representatives at the office, and he was happy to chat to, you know, anyone who was going to come. Well, not anyone, but like, you know, part of our women's group that was going to come and inquire about this project.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anything that we were hiding or anything that was amiss or anything that's
Sinister, yeah.
or sinister. And it just for the record, you know, the money that was paid for this land never came to my account.
It came to
never
the
came to Sazini
organization's
Malava's
account.
It went to the organization's account, and it went straight to the seller. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where we are now. Okay. But I can understand, you know, to some extent how people's maybe emotions and, you know, everything got...
And the delay.
And the delay, you know. And obviously there was then the Qoki saga into all this.
Okay.
Which then complicated things even more, because now I was being tainted with the same brush.
Were you part of Qoki?
I was never part of Qoki. From day one, I was never part of Qoki.
Have you ever worked with the founder of Qoki?
I have worked with the founder of Qoki. When Mthwakazi Queens was founded, the founder of Qoki was one of my committee members.
And then what happened? How did she leave Mthwakazi
There was a
Queens?
misunderstanding in the way we worked versus the way she wanted to work.
Okay.
It was not within our values.
There was a clash.
There was a clash. There was a clash of personality. There was a clash of, you know, I want to say integrity, but I don't know. You know, there was a clash of a lot of things. Because I would get phone calls, basically complaints, you know, people saying, we've spoken to so-and-so about this. And I'll be like, no, we don't have a project like that. Oh, but we've donated money.
Into projects that you did not
That
approve
I didn't
of.
approve of, I didn't know about. So that's how we then sort of
Parted ways.
So I'm guessing that's how Qoki was born.
So Qoki was
afterwards.
born out of Mthwakazi
Qoki was born out of Mthwakazi.
Queens.
Yes.
You then see Qoki going through that period also where Zima is also writing about them. And how do you feel about that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never really kind of like, you know, taken it.
Invested in Qoki?
No, I haven't. But to be honest, it was a panicky kind of situation for me.
Yeah.
Because I got to a point where I was actually even questioning myself, thinking, maybe I am actually a scammer, you know?
Who went through the hardships first? You and then Qoki later?
It was Qoki first.
And then you after?
Yes.
Do you feel like maybe the women getting impatient and asking questions was inspired by what was happening on the other side?
Absolutely. Because I used to get a lot of, now this is happening in Qoki. Why are we not, you know, why are we... I went into depression.
I'm sorry.
I did. And I had to go for counseling because I would get people calling me, like literally, 3 times a day.
What were they saying?
Asking me how I'm still standing, like either positively or negatively. So like, or, you know, how are you coping with all this that's being said about you?
And the danger now with your psyche is that when people repeatedly say something to you, it's very easy for you to end up believing
This
it.
is what I mean. I ended up actually questioning myself.
Am I
Maybe I am actually a scam.
Maybe there was a point in life where I don't know if I did chow their money.
Exactly. But the unfortunate part, Joy, is alongside that, then people, maybe not these women specifically, but some women of other clubs. Remember, we had other projects running. We had the Goat Club, the Boer Goats Club. We had the Cattle Club. We had various clubs that were running simultaneously.
What happened to those clubs?
So people then called my bank, not my bank, Mthwakazi Queens Bank, which is Barclays Bank, and they said, we have deposited money into this bank account and we have not received the services that we've paid for. Yeah. So I get this massive letter from Barclays Bank asking me to explain each and every nitty-gritty transaction on the bank statement. I think
What
it was...
did you buy with so much power?
Where was this money coming from? What does your articles of... So remember, when you start a company, there's what we call the articles of association and So when Mthwakazi Queens is a CIC, what we call a community interest company, which means our interest is invested in the community, and the activities that we hold or do benefit the community. So our articles of association clearly state what we will be receiving subs, because, or remember, Slama Burial.
Yeah.
We will be receiving donations, we'll be receiving, it's called crowdfunding. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had to explain each and every transaction that was coming from everyone. And then, unfortunately, Barclays Bank decided to close our account.
Because of that?
Because of that.
Did they freeze any money?
They did.
How much was in there?
I'm not going to mention figures.
But it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, because remember, we still had clubs running to a point where I personally had to pay. I'm still actually paying off some of that money to our club members, only because I feel it's the right thing to do, because my intention was never to scam anyone.
Yeah.
I know there's still people out there that feel they're still owed some money. I'm working on it, on paying them back. I cannot pay everybody at once.
Have you explained to these people what they caused to you, especially in terms of now you ending up paying monies that were not directed into your own account? These monies were deposited into the Mthwakazi Queens account. You are not alone. These glitches happen, and then now they write in, the account gets frozen. Do they understand that?
No, because some of them, remember, it was their intention. Until because so they thought maybe if they freeze those accounts, then I won't have access to those funds. You understand? Ooh. Of which, yes, of course, I won't have access to those funds, because I never did in the first place. You know? So, and the unfortunate part is, this is my first ever time to actually speak about this.
Speak out about this. Yeah.
Yes. So I've never really spoken to any individual. I've never spoken on any platform. I've never even addressed the women about how I feel or how they've treated me.
But is it not eating you from the inside?
I think while I had my counseling, I've come to an acceptance of, this is what happened. This is how I fell into depression. This is how I came out. And I came out stronger, and I need to focus.
Yeah.
So for me to be here today, I'm hoping this will kind of like give me some kind of closure and emit, those closed-in emotions and feelings, and hopefully bring better things to come. So going back slightly, so Simba called me, I think on the 5th of January, somewhere there. And then I remember, because for me every year around sort of first week of January, I detox myself from social media. So I deleted my Facebook app, and from January to March, I don't go onto social media as a way of detoxing and just trying to, refocus.
Recollect and isolate yourself. Yeah.
So, and then on the 20 something, I think it was the 20th of January or something like that, Simba called me again. And I said to him, look, Simba, I'm really not going to talk to you unless you've got a written letter from these women that's been signed by all of them that I need to speak to you about this project. You are not part of the project. You are not a legal journalist. You are not a court representative. Basically, to me, you are nothing.
On which grounds are you speaking?
On which grounds are you wanting this information? Because I'm in breach of confidentiality here.
Absolutely.
So, but it turns out that obviously Simba was paid some certain amount of money to write this article about me.
$400 a year?
£400.
£400.
He actually even wrote it twice. The second one was in Isindebele. So to make his emphasis, because obviously this project is happening in Matabeleland. Come on now.
Okay, makes sense.
So anyway, on the 24th of January, I'm coming from work, and I get this gut instinct saying, reinstall your Facebook app. Like literally.
Yeah.
I'm parked outside my drive from work and saying, reinstall your Facebook. I reinstall my Facebook app.
Yeah.
And boom.
It's flooded.
It's like it
It ends up going like where it doesn't even make sounds anymore.
And at that point, it hasn't dawned to me. I've got no clue
You're
whatsoever.
thinking it's just notifications about anything.
And remember, I work in the prison service. So when I'm at work, my phone stays in my car and it's off. So I drove all the way home, turned my phone on, these notifications come up with, obviously, of WhatsApp, missed calls, and then I download my Facebook app and it's...
And then more notifications.
And then I'm thinking, let me go to my WhatsApp first, because that's my mode of communication anyway.
Yeah, on a daily.
And then I see a phone call from my colleague in Bulawayo, and there's like 15 missed calls. And I'm like,
Yeah.
And then I called her, because she's sort of like my confidante as well. So I called her, and she goes, my PP, we call each other that. She goes, my PP says Shubile. And I'm like, what? She goes, Ngena kuzim I. And the minute she said that, I just knew it. And then I went onto Facebook and I saw this article, and I had been tagged and tagged and tagged and tagged. Honestly, Joy, I didn't know whether to cry or to laugh or to what.
Become numb.
Yes, when they say okukhula kula mkhosi.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
for 2 minutes, I was just frozen like that. And then I thought, I need to gather myself.
Yeah.
How am I going to react to this? What should I do? Should I comment? Should I not comment? Should I phone someone? What should I? That was my first time ever something so negative and damaging was written about me. And I didn't know what to do.
Who do you call?
Who do you call?
What do you talk to?
So anyway, I called my colleague back, and she was like, my PP, you are bigger than this.
Yeah.
Don't let this sink you. And I was like, yeah, okay. But deep down, I was ripped apart. The title, UK nurse.
Scams 34 women of 150,000 US dollars. Ungasashireli bantu.
In my mind started racing, and I'm thinking, my poor dad is sitting in his house, which is not even a mansion. I'm driving the cheapest car in the UK. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm not driving an expensive car at all. And I've never been to Maldives.
You wish.
I wish. If I had
don't have the
150K,
funds. Yeah.
I wouldn't be coming from work now.
At that time.
Late
evenings.
So, and then I just felt my world sort of
crumbling
and shutting down.
Yeah.
And I think in reflection from that day onwards, I shut down. Do you know what I mean? I shut people out.
Yeah.
I was anxious to answer my phone. Each time my phone rang, I wouldn't answer. And my kids would be like, Mom, your phone is ringing. I'll be like,
it's okay.
It's okay. I'll call them back. I was anxious to go into WhatsApp. I would leave my WhatsApp. WhatsApp will be piling, saying 500 unread messages. Yeah. And I never responded to a single message on the group, the projects group, because I thought...
You were numb. What do I say?
What do I say? Who does this? And then there was discussion in the group. Remember, I'm in the same group. There's discussion about me.
As if you're not there.
As if I'm not there.
Yeah.
People are talking about, the next stage is to go to NMC.
What is NMC?
So the NMC is the Nursing and Midwifery Council. This is the council that regulates all nurses in the United Kingdom. So I was supposed to be reported and struck off from the register, so I cannot work. I cannot practice as a nurse simply because of a fake article that was fabricated to tarnish my name. A lot of...
go ahead and do that?
They didn't. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
But they made attempts to contact the Wolverhampton City Council, the Wolverhampton Homes, about my board membership post. Because obviously, you know, in the UK, if you Google my name, now obviously Simba's article comes up first. And then everything else, so you know, everything else that I'm doing, or my work that I'm doing, like my public reviewer work, you know, for the policies and everything else. So they did that, and basically they were just screenshotting and pasting, saying, "Oh, she's this, or this is the address, or this is that. Let's go to a home address," and and things like that, and all sorts of threats came my way. I was even told ukuthi ngizaloywa uzufe. Yeah, and you know, one of the ladies was like, "Mina baba minyanga," and I'm like, really?
How does that make you feel, if, especially in uzaloywa? Do you get scared? Do you? Because sometimes then you start hallucinating. Maybe what if? What if?
I'm a strong believer of ububi buya ebubini. Yes. Okuhle kuye kuhleni. So if I haven't wronged you,
you genuine, you know you did.
If I genuinely know I have not wronged you,
yeah,
whatever you do, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna sink, because I haven't actually activated that connection.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that was my strong belief. But I've never prayed so much in my life. I've never pashled so much in my life. I pashled and prayed to a point where I couldn't pashla and pray anymore, because I felt that I was a broken record.
Yeah, like I'm repeating the same thing.
Same thing again and again. And can you imagine iminyaka iyadlula when pashla every day about the same thing? Iminyaka iyadlula. And you want to ask God, like, God, where are you? Why? But you know I haven't done this, God. Why? Where are you?
Did you find yourself even maybe changing your trajectory of your belief at that time? You feel like, oh, maybe let me stop this and do this alone, or maybe did you try anything else out of the norm?
I didn't. If ever there was a point in my life where I had the strongest faith, that was then. Because I felt only my faith was going to save me.
Sustain you, yeah.
Yes. So, like I'm saying, ngaphahla ngaze ngabeka phansi. Ngakhuleka ngaze ngabeka phansi. To a point where I would maybe, you know, when I'm praying, I would just maybe kneel and just have a conversation with God instead of actually praying, you know, and saying, God,
oh, that works. Yo, that works.
You know, and say, namhlanje ngivuke kuseni. Uzibani wathi ngami. And then ngihambe emsebenzini kwasekwenzakala kanje. But uNkulunkulu wena konke lokhu kubonile. You know?
You start feeling like, maybe if I'm praying, I'm saying things that I don't mean. How about I just repeat the things that I know?
Yes.
I did that between 2015 and 2019. I'll sit and open the curtains and look out the window and have a conversation with God, a God that I did not see physically, but I started feeling his presence by saying, God, I have a son and I have family. I've got people around me that are looking up to me, and I don't have a job. That was my prayer. Where I wouldn't say, oh, God, please give me a job. Like I'll sit and at some point you start feeling like, what if I'm losing my mind?
Yeah, precisely.
Did you feel like that?
Yes. But the last straw for me was when I got a phone call from my dad.
What did he say?
Actually, it wasn't a phone call. My dad actually forwarded me that link.
With the article?
With the article. Oof. My dad is a man of very, very few words. And if you see or hear him say something, it's got to him.
Yeah.
So my dad forwarded me that article and never said a word after that. Just forwarded me the article. That was it.
Do you plan not to say anything, or you have seen this and you think, I can't say anything at that point?
I didn't want to say anything, especially to my dad, because he's of ill health. Okay, he suffers with diabetes, hypertension, ukulile, you know, and all that. And I'm a daddy's girl, so I knew how that would affect my dad.
Do you sit there and blame yourself? What if I'm even making my dad sick? Like all these
I
things
did
are-
actually make my dad sick, if you want to put it that way, because my dad then went into a hypo, which means his sugar levels went so low for a very long period of time within that sort of period, to a point where I had to ask Uputu Ezra to call my dad to actually mitigate for me and let him explain, because I didn't think my dad was going to believe me.
Did you win?
I think I did, because Ezra did call my dad.
Yeah.
And spoke to my dad and made him understand, you know, that this is just, you know, because actually Ezra, prior to that, had been sort of dragged in by these women because they wanted him to write the article about me.
When he refused, he was seen as someone who's taking your side.
He didn't refuse as such, but he just put his facts there and said, I have investigated this case.
This is what's happening.
This is what's happening. This is a clear project, a clear and clean project. There's nothing untoward. You guys just need to wait.
And this project is in this stage in the process.
Yes, he told them everything as it was, but they still didn't believe. So they decided to go to Simba instead. So I went to Uputu Ezra because I knew he had been involved at some point, to just say, can you please just, you know, have a word with my dad and just, you know, make him understand. And that sort of worked. So obviously when the permit came out, I was pinching myself like several times.
Is this
like,
real?
Is this real?
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't even believe it. Like literally, I could not believe it.
Because at some point you were also now
Doubting myself,
yourself.
thinking I'm actually a scammer.
Yeah.
You know, if everyone is saying this, it means you know, I'm actually a scammer.
Yeah.
You know, so to actually know that things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And we are so close.
Yeah.
Is just God's blessing.
Do you have people within the group or within your space that still believe in you? Simba,
I have people that
let me rephrase that question. Do you have people in your space or in your group or close to you that still believe in you?
You know, the funny thing with that question is, Abantu Bagiti, it's unfortunate because when there's something negative, they speak openly and very fast.
Absolutely. Spreads, they share.
Yes.
Bate Ghana. Sing up.
I was actually very disappointed, very, very heartbroken to see some of the comments from people that I I have so much respect for.
Yeah.
You know, as mothers, as
trusted
fathers,
them.
that I trusted them, and I never ever thought they would actually make those comments.
Yeah.
But ngoba namhla ihlatshiwe so kumele bezoyihlinza, you understand?
Yeah.
And but when it's something good, you know, no one will come to my face and say, Sazi, you've done a great job here. They might talk amongst themselves, and then you just hear it as hearsay that, you know, well done, blah, blah, blah. And you think, really? But I was talking to this person a few days ago and they never said anything. You know, I still have people that believe, I'm not going to say believe in me, I would say maybe believe in my vision.
Yeah, the project, the
vision, the passion. And I still have people that respect me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I've got, you know, other people that may look and think, and that's okay.
That's fine.
You know, that's fine because, you know, this is life. You know, we can't all be liked. We can't be all beloved. For me, myself, there's people that, you know, I may not like and I may not work with. And, you know, but yeah.
Do you feel like part of what happened was part of your spiritual journey and really in you discovering yourself.
Absolutely. It taught me a lot about myself as a spiritual person.
Yeah.
It taught me a lot of resilience. It taught me that, things don't happen in our own time.
In our own way.
Yeah. With our own people.
Yeah.
Things happen in God's time.
Yeah.
But above all, it taught me angazi ukuthi ngayifaka njani le mhlawumbe ngiyibeke ngesintu imfundisile ukubana noma ungumuntu wabantu kumele uhlale ungumuntu wabantu la noma sekutheni
noma sebekukhafule
kanjani because
you remain that.
Yes,
that's your calling.
Yes, that's my and I didn't stop.
Yeah.
I didn't stop, but I would get phone calls saying,
I think the physical you would want to stop because you're in pain.
Yes.
But there is that one that you don't even understand how she keeps going.
My brain really, really wanted to stop.
Yeah. That's logic. You're like, this is not working. I'm being attacked and this is not good for my health.
I remember because, there was a bit of hoo-ha about drought and what have you. And then we did like a maize buying project.
Yeah.
Joy. Honestly, I regretted.
What happened?
God, I regretted ever doing that project because
when's the
deal didn't go very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was. We were going to buy umumbu from South Africa, and then umuntu will get a ton each.
Yeah.
And then there was, I think the government then sort of panicked. I'm not really sure what happened.
Yeah, there were things about like maize. There was new embargoes introduced.
Didn't come. It took us, I think, about 3 to 6 months.
Did it finally come though?
Can you imagine?
About this feeling in Ghana.
Besides that, I've just been revived from this land project.
Now this.
Oh,
I'm a scammer.
I could bury myself alive.
Yeah.
Honestly, and they were like, vele
sasinga someone akulendi manje you say.
Our socialites got phone calls even the day I created the WhatsApp group for maize before people even paid their money. I had phone calls from the socialites. Sizwa kuthiwa usuqalise esinye isikam somumbu.
How do you feel? You wanna
I was like, guys,
swallow me.
And then I said to one of them, do you know what? They were like, nasenza kubhala. And I said, do you know what? Maybe it's time.
Yeah.
I said, maybe it's time. I might be cleared.
Yeah. You were fed up.
Like I had had enough.
Yeah.
I had had enough. It took us quite a few months. I would like to apologize to those women. It was a genuine thing that we wanted, to help people with.
Yeah.
But it didn't go well. And now, in hindsight, I think maybe I was too quick to jump into something else. I was supposed to.
That's a lesson for you.
Yes, it's a very big lesson. It's a very big lesson. Yeah. And mina, I'm a person who would say, if I've done wrong, I will, no matter how big the wrong is, I will hold my hands up high and say, look.
And be responsible.
And be responsible. Be accountable and say, look, I have done wrong. So I had to apologize to it wasn't just the women, it was everyone because it was just an open group.
You were not doing it on your own.
No, I wasn't doing it on my own. So, I had to apologize and say, look, this is a deal gone wrong. Yeah. But I promise you, we'll get to your maize. I'm not a maize scammer.
At this time.
Like, where are they?
Yeah.
Honestly, Joy, to a point where ngahlubula nje yonke into ngabeka lapha.
Yeah.
Ngathi ngizoqala katsha mase ngibona ilight at the end of the tunnel.
Have you started yet?
I have.
What are you currently doing?
Well, I think I've aligned myself, to where I should be.
Yeah.
I've a better understanding of why things happened. They always say when something big is about to happen. There has to be all these hurdles. Kumele ugwenxeke, uvuke, ukhumuke amazinyo, ugcwale uthuli, you know.
Before your best, you need to go through the worst.
Exactly. But my best is yet to come. My best, and someone may ask, what is your best? My best is to see this project go through and be successful.
Why women alone? Why not men? Mthwakazi Queens. Siyafuna ukungena.
Yo. Liyahlupha. I have had inquiries about, you know, starting Mthwakazi Kings. But, you know, for me, I think what I find difficult about abantu abangabo baba, alisukumeli phezulu. I don't know if I'm making sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yes.
It's the honest truth.
I think for us women, we've got that sixth sense. Liane yokubona masinya, siyenze masinya. You understand? Whereas for men, I think sometimes you want to sit down, think about it, you know, analyze, calculate, do this, and then you'll be like, into zabafazi.
Yeah.
Yabo. So we have tried in some of our projects in Zimbabwe, we have had men involved.
Yeah.
But in the obaba kababizani masinya njengabo mama.
Bengaze bebizane babuya bebalutshwane omunye uNdlovu kanti ufuna ukuthini kanti uzenza bani.
So that's the challenge that we faced. But some of our projects we have opened them to say, you know, even they can, especially like the goats club, the cattle club, the car buying club, because obviously a car, you know, anyone can own a car. It doesn't have to be.
Do you already have men in your groups or in your projects?
The Zimbabweans, yes. Zimbabweans, we have men, yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What a journey.
It's been tough. It's been tough, but
manje e-UK uphahla kanjani? Ngesikhiwa?
No.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a challenge, of course, because you know, the spiritual journey is it's a unique journey.
It's quite delicate.
It's quite delicate, and we have the challenge of, you know, the correct type of space, you know, the size of the space, the maybe the resources that you need, the equipment, you know what I mean, the equipment that you need. Maybe kumele phahle kangeni ehlathini, and you can't go there because it's either raining or it's too dark or it's snowing or it's not safe. And remember, Pele UK, it's very rare that you find most.
It's private property.
Yes, it's either secluded, William Fancy, you know, local parks, they lock the gates at a certain time. River streams, you can't really go into them nilly-willy, you know, unless if you go in Tatagusa. So it's manageable, but it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Like UK manje, okay, mawe uzophahla, you will find spaces. Do you guys have people to go to? Egoli phela bakhona kulabo maritswai, kulezinyanga, kulezangoma, kulabafundisi and all that. Do you have anyone, especially in the spiritual space in the UK, people that are helping people?
We have people that are helping people, but in the religious way, so apa profiti.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have the 12 Apostle Church.
Yeah.
And then we have Izayoni. Okay. So people will go to church and go to our prophet or whatever.
So vele ziyachayiza when it's good.
Too much.
Good.
Yeah. But I haven't seen anyone who is a traditional kind of helper. I may want to be the first. I don't know. I haven't said that, but I haven't seen anyone who is doing the traditional healing kind of thing. They may be there, but I've never actually come across them.
You've already answered the question that I wanted to ask Wuti. Don't you feel like there is a need for that, especially in the traditional space, because we can't run away from it without really bad-mouthing other sects of religion. I believe people have misinterpreted idlozi noNkulunkulu, where they feel like we are worshipping amadlozi, yamademon, whereas God and our ancestors, it's the same thing. If you go into the Bible, where we are told that hlonipha uhlelo nyoko, which is the only commandment that comes with conditions, and for me this speaks to like really us connecting to our lineage. Isibongo, when my dad and my mother respect their parents, something good. If I do that to them, so now this means this is a cycle. And even the ones that are departed, we need to respect them and we need to honor them. But what do we do if we are far away from home, and if our way of communicating to them, ekhaya uyesbayeni or uyengcwabeni or uyesihlahleni or uyedwaleni, depending on what the family does, how do you then do that when you are in the UK?
Personally, I still do it.
Yeah.
I've got no problems. So ngiyakwazi ukuvuka ekseni imphahle ntambama or whatever. Ngiyakwazi ukuthi ngiye emanzini makumele ngiye emanzini.
Yeah.
And do all sorts, and you know, ngiloku siza abantu sometimes. Sometimes I have to underline that.
Okay.
One, sometimes. So yeah, but I'm a believer of both. So I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I do believe in God, the Holy Spirit, and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm also a strong believer and lover of my ancestors.
Yeah.
So someone may say, how so? Because those two may clash. Or
they don't.
They don't. They actually don't.
We have been lied to see them as if they are separate, and they are not.
You know, having said that, what's just come to mind now is the funny thing in the UK is you'll find schools in their curriculum, they have got what we call Diwali Day, or you know, what you call this? Oh God, I can't remember.
But all these things that have to do with culture and traditions,
and tradition of other. You know, other tribes and stuff, and they actually ask our kids to come dressed in that kind of way. To a point that there is even Pride Day whereby we celebrate, you know, sexuality and all that. But there's Africa Day. I've never seen a school in England saying we are actually celebrating Africa Day next week. Some schools do, don't get me wrong, but then it's not as popular as some other religions and cultures and stuff. I went to my daughter's open evenings for her secondary school because she's due to start secondary school not this year, next year. And I remember going through to this history department in this school, and there was, you know, everyone under the sun about the British history or whatever. I hate history, so I'm not even going to try and
explain anything.
And I stood there, you know, so fascinated. And this history teacher was going on and on and on, saying, you know, can you spot anyone? You know, these are some of the popular people in history. And I was like, but where's Chaga? Ubumziligas. And she was like, oh, you know, good point there, but sorry, we don't. And I'm like, but why? You know, it's supposed to be a multicultural country, United Kingdom.
And we can't blame them, because if we don't bring it to them, they won't see the need.
Ask me how we should do that. We should be sitting in the school governors panels
and making sure this gets included.
Yes, the schools, they send out requests to say we have got school governor vacancies, and any parent can apply to be a school governor in their child's school.
I hope you're listening, parents in the UK.
If we're not in the school governance,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So the Indians, the Asians,
They've made
the
sure
Jamaicans,
their cultures
they-
are part
by
of the
sitting
curriculum.
in the school governors panels, by filling those vacancies. Where is the Zimbabweans shifting, doing the 12-hour shifts?
This is interesting. I think if someone who's watching, I think you guys need to start having these conversations. And there are countries that are allowing you to come and sort of introduce who you are so that they can even start making that part of the curriculum.
Yeah, I had even, the gentleman that I talked about that I said was the chairman of this suicide charity thing.
Yeah.
He would come up to me and say, do you know what? I actually wish I was black because I would be slicing this. And I was like, why? Because do you know the amount of opportunities out there for black people?
Yeah.
Like, I actually wish I was black.
Imagine the way everyone else has taught us of their history. And if we would take our history, the rich history that we have, and start teaching it out there, and they would be so interested.
They would be because with King Mthwakazi Celebration Day, we do it in a white community location, a venue, and they are ever so interested. They want to take part. They're intrigued. They're curious.
I don't know if you've seen Bruce Ncube, the Njube giant, and he's doing music classes in the UK, and he's not teaching them English songs. He's teaching them Gambo dance. He's teaching them why man wewa ingoma zesintu ezembube zesicathamia, and they are so passionate. You can see they're curious. They want to learn.
We need more of that. We need people like the Njube giant to actually motivate us and instill that in us so that sibe la swisibindi.
I think we are not proud of who we are because we don't talk so much about our own culture or our own customs and traditions, but we are quick to talk about the soft life, the New York, the lights, the other people, how Mussolini, the Hitlers, and all these other history lessons that we've learned. And what shout out to Bruce Ncube and the Njube giant, what he's doing is he is making us realize that we can actually be proud of our music, our song, our culture, and eventually I feel like that is going to reflect back, and we will start being proud of who we are and embracing ourselves, and now start teaching the world. Mina ngishem, I've been here since 2006.
I think you should be one of the people that need to come to the UK. Have a UK tour whereby...
Oh, a tour, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
honestly. I mean, jokes aside, I think because obviously you're such a huge influence in the Zimbabwean community, be it in Africa or elsewhere abroad.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have such a huge influence, and I think it would be quite interesting to see someone like yourself because you are already doing this anyway. So it would be nice to see you actually out there.
My passport is ready. The camera one and a passport. We have this
So
UK.
Let that be your future goal.
Okay, done. Wow, thank you so much for this lovely chat. Siyabonga kakhulu, sibonga kuwe, sibonge kuNkulunkulu, sibonge kwabakini. Me and you have spoken for some time, and this is I'm meeting you for the first time.
I was so scared of you.
Oh wow. I think I noticed.
I'm allowed to say.
I think I noticed in some of your.
You're so abrupt. In your day-to-day conversation, of which I totally get that. But that made me just like...
I noticed how you were, by the way, you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to land and then I'm going to go to KZN. Can I leave my bags? And you felt so bad and you thought like you're super. No.
And by the way, honestly, I'm forever grateful.
You're welcome.
I am forever grateful because at that point we had not met.
Yeah.
We had just briefly spoken.
Yeah.
We didn't have this rapport that we have now.
On each other,
and, you went out of your way,
Thank you.
At stupid o'clock at night.
I waited.
He waited. So thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you so much, guys. I'm going to expose her. She is the person who opened GoFundMe, Egathando Chuma Vlogs, Novusumuzi MC, that are currently cycling across Africa. Support, please, in any way. Facebook, like, share, comment, follow them. Lingabathethisi, ne? Ngiyacela. Akula sizathu sokuthi bathethise. They're doing what they're doing because they believe they want to learn about Africa and then in turn teach us. And also in life, there's something called doing hard things that make you face your fears, and after that, you become the best version of yourself. So that's what they're doing. I mean, into Africa. They're not doing it for fun, please. They are doing it to challenge themselves, to challenge you, to inspire themselves, to inspire you, to learn about Africa, and also just to move away from this normal, comfortable world where we wake up in the morning, pancakes and scrambled eggs. They are sleeping in tents, and we have seen other people doing it from other races and tribes. We support them, we follow them, we share, we like, we do all these sort of things. But can we also do the same for our own? And to support us, I've been reaching out on Facebook, thanks to Njube Giant, who also had offered, and then she finally opened GoFundMe. Go and donate, please. £5, £2, £10, $100, £100. It is welcome. Before we close, I want you to look into, which camera is she looking at? This one, right? This one. Say, I don't know, what do you want to say to our people, to us, as we learn from you, as we get inspired by your journey, where you have been and where you're going?
Well, maybe not first, but lastly, I would like to thank you very much for the platform and the opportunity. I remember I just put a post on Facebook and I was like, I need a platform where I'm going to talk about being a founder of SAIC, the challenges, the ups and downs, and everything. And Joy commented and said, if you were in Johannesburg, we would, have
give you
in
the
the
platform.
studio. And I thought, right there, I'm going there. So I am here this evening. Thank you so very much. Honestly, I could not have asked for a better platform. And what I want to leave with our listeners out there, I would like to say, life is a journey.
Yep.
Who you travel it with is your choice.
Yep.
Where it takes you is your choice.
Yep.
What you do when you get there is your choice.
Yep.
There's some things that we may not avoid that are meant to be, but they are meant to make us strong and resilient. As they say, what doesn't kill you
makes you stronger. Yep.
I've lived, I've learned, I've loved, and I'm here this evening being hosted by the most amazing team. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, team. Thank you, wena obukeleyo ekhaya. Wena kade usacabanga ukuthi impilo is just like a haphazard project. No, it is not. It is a journey. There are directions that you get along the way. If you don't follow them, you might get lost. Ukuchaya U-turn ku-freeway kunzima. Kwesinye isikhathi unida ukuthi ukhangele la oyakhona. Siyabonga Iqembu Studios. Ngathi mina nxa ufuna ukuthola imifanekiso noma ngithi ama-video aseqopheni eliphezulu, sondela ngaphansi la khona ama contact details. You can contact us. You can hire these cameras. You can hire the crew. They can come and do what they do best. Siyabonga elikwenzayo, support, the liking, the sharing, the conversations you're having about the podcast yabantu. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It means a lot. Nkulunkulu nambagini babelani. Siyabonga.